Hi, everybody. This is the turbaned Erica from In the Company of Cards, together with my friend Lena. Hi, Lena, from Lena Down Under.
Howdy from down under.
And before we get started, I just want to apologize again. I came on in an impromptu way later in the evening than I usually do and did a whole thing on James Comey and the seashells spelling out 8647, except that I called him Mueller the whole time. So I did.
We've all done it.
Yeah. I mean, it was right in the captions for the titles, and I did pin a note at the top. But plenty of people came on to tell me that I had gotten the name wrong. I want you to know I am well aware, and I apologize, and I hope that I did not disturb Bob Mueller's well-earned eternal sleep. But yes, I meant James Comey. But anyway, there's so much else to talk about, Lena.
Yeah.
What a week.
What a week. What a week.
We could do this every day and we'd still have plenty to talk about. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all.
Hi.
We've got Canada, we've got Arizona. Those are the two places that I see. But and I see that early on is a question that maybe we should start with, which is the fact that the Supreme Court has cynically and in a way that is very gaslighting, they have essentially gutted the entire Voting Rights Act, which was enacted in the 60s. It was meant to give an easier birth to people who are of color, especially Black people, when voting. And they have essentially said, basically, what the gist of it was, racism is over. And so it's really not good to split things up by race. And kumbaya, can't we all get along? But meanwhile, what if it effectively will do in, which state is it? In Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, it essentially erases a whole swath of Black districts, which means that Louisiana moving forward will be represented by people who really don't represent them or their interests. Yeah. And I think it's a very interesting thing. First off, I would love to think we were in a post-racial society. We know we're not. And I notice it's only post-racial when calling it that suits an agenda.
That's right. Yes.
So I will say that it is a very dark day for civil rights, because voting rights essentially are gone, even if there's now no mechanism in place to appeal, is basically what they've done. So
yes, it was the Supreme Court.
That was the Supreme Court. And Kagan, whatever her name, Kagan, wrote a blistering rebuttal that she read out loud. She was very angry, as are the other two liberals on the court, but it is what it is. And Uncle Thomas, said that if he had had his way, he'd have been even more draconian. He thinks he's white. He looked in the mirror, and I don't know what happened to him. If anybody's read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, you know what I'm talking about. He is deranged. He thinks that his proximity to whiteness makes him white. He hates himself, and he hates Black people. And so, he said he would go farther if he could. My point being, rather than, today is a day of mourning. We should be mourning and wringing hands and rending cloth and gnashing teeth today. And then when we get up tomorrow, we need to be on the voting grind. People need to vote. It's the only response left to us until there's a different Supreme Court. which is to come out en masse. And Lena, there are millions of people in this country who do not vote.
It's staggering to me. It's absolutely staggering. So democracies need certain pillars to function. So one of them is an independent judiciary, gone.
Right.
One is an independent media, dodgy and on the skids. But it also needs a good public education system, because to give everyone, we won't go into the side issues for a minute in this context, allegedly every citizen the right to vote, you need a really good public education system. So the baseline's good, not good in America.
No.
But the fourth pillar that no one ever talked about in philosophical terms, because it didn't occur to them, the number of people to just not vote.
Right. Right.
When you think of the torment and horror and endurance and blood that's been spent to get the vote, and then you've got 90 million people in the last election who couldn't be asked getting off the couch.
Right. Right.
It's extraordinary. And to me, it's a screaming dysfunction of American democracy in and of itself.
Right. Right.
The civic engagement has been severed. If 90 million people would, and I'd say 89 million would say, oh, well, they're all the same. You know, don't you reckon that'd be what they'd say if you asked them?
Right.
Oh, you know, nothing ever changes. They're all the same, right?
Right. And these are the same people who, when things go wrong, they will say, who's going to save us? Who's going to rescue us? How are we going to get out of this? We are the only ones who can save ourselves. This was a bad thing that happened. And now not even the law can protect us. So therefore, we need to vote. Wherever it is that you live, if you are qualified to vote, you should be registered and you have to vote in all elections, by the way, not just one every
even the little ones. None of them are little in this climate.
No, you should know who's running for your school board. If you don't,
really important.
You know, school boards determine what books are allowed and what books are not allowed in a given district. So it's that granular, but we have to be involved.
Yes, right down to school boards.
Yeah.
And it took me years to get a real appreciation of this, but local is actually the most powerful government experience you have.
That's right.
It's where you live and where your kids go to school and whether you can get on a bus or not. Everything is at that level. But just to share, many viewers will know, but Australia has a system of compulsory voting, right? So you enroll at 18 and that's it for life. You don't have to revisit it. There's none of this, what party are you in stuff. You know,
interesting.
To us, right? You know, why would I tell no?
So then what happens if you move to a different state?
It's up to you to notify the Federal Electoral Commission, right?
So essentially, you re-register if you move to a different state.
You just update your address. In the modern world, of course, it does it for you, right? You know, because nothing's left to chance. Now you'll get a thing in the post going, oh, we see you've changed your address. And it's not so much hyper surveillance, it's just how the modern world is.
Right.
So generally speaking, one-stop shop, you register at 18. Now, when I was 18, and much more radical. I'm not so much that I was more radical than I am now, but I was had the energy for this. And I remember I used to have a badge, or you guys call them buttons. Right? Mm-hmm. And it used to say, if voting could change anything, it'd be illegal, right? Which was a lefty out there thing.
Right.
And so I'd wear my badge, and I refused to vote for maybe 3 years or something. And then I became more aware of the big picture. So the next question people ask, compulsory voting, because I think we are the only country that has compulsory voting. What happens if you don't vote? And the answer to that essentially is nothing. You will be sent a notice. We noticed you didn't vote. Can you explain? So you're given an opportunity. I'm sorry I had cholera and think that'll be fine. You can explain. If not, you get a fine, which is like $50 in the modern world. It was 20 when I was there. But the really important thing is nothing happens if you don't pay that fine. Right? There's no criminal follow-up to it. So the idea is just to remind people, encourage people. We've always had voting on a Saturday, and the reason for that was so working men, who were the ones with the vote, could get there.
Yes, we have it on a Tuesday, which is a work day, so that it's hard.
Working people.
Right.
Yeah, right. So Saturday voting, also it was made a criminal offence right from 1901 or whatever, that any boss who stopped an employee or didn't enable an employee to vote would get a legal sanction, right? So there was an obligation. So if you were in essential services or something, it was up to your boss to make sure you had that time off to vote. It was their responsibility. Right?
Now, in this day and age, do you have voting by mail?
Yes, we have. The other thing is voting in Australia is very easy. So every school, every church, every precinct has multiple voting booths. So, I mean, it's different, obviously, if you live 400 miles from a town, you use mail-in voting. But if you're in any city or town, you can't drive 500 yards without choices of voting booths. And I think that's really important. You can go to any of them, and that raises another question. It is standardized. We are federal. If it's a federal election, it looks exactly the same in any part of the country.
See, because here, if you vote in the wrong
I can't believe it.
Yeah, they won't let you vote. Well, because the Republicans have a vested interest in a lot of people who look like me not voting. So they make it as difficult as possible.
And it's actually structural.
Yes.
So we've all seen the queues, particularly in the South, Black voters, and Mary Trump pointed that out to me. She said, look, as a white New York voter, I've never had to wait more than 20 minutes. And look what happens. And she was very aware of that. But the key thing, and I think in the aftermath of all these issues, the actual mechanics of the voting process have to be completely revamped, modernized and liberalized in the United States. It's shocking to me.
Assuming that we want people to be able to vote. And I have to say, I think that's a big assumption.
Oh.
Right? I mean, there's a reason why it's so complex and so complicated. The Black churches had a thing. It's called Souls to the Polls. And on Sunday, people would go to church, and then they would go to the polling places to vote. Well, they outlawed that. It's illegal. Not only is it illegal, it's also illegal in some places where they have those long lines to hand out food or water. Or
yes, I mean, what is that?
To sit down in. It's just obscene. It's obscene.
Exactly. I'd just like to respond to a comment here. We don't want these elections federalized. No way, not until they are safeguarded. That's exactly my point.
Right.
This is not the first thing you do. There's all these other mechanics of it.
Right.
And America is not ready for a
We're
real
not, no,
democracy.
the felon
It's
would
not
love to have,
ready. It
no, the
couldn't
felon,
cope with the real democracy. The
he,
GOP would never be in again.
that's right. The felon wants to federalize elections. That's what he wants. But we know what he means by federalize.
Yes, it's a totally different conversation, right?
Right.
At the moment, you're protected if you're in a blue state from the worst excesses of the red states. So I'm not just saying, just make it fair. No, because you have no real oversight. So your federal election committee has no teeth. The states are still virulently in their own echo chambers. Right. The United States is not ready for democracy.
We're not mature enough for democracy. That's exactly right. We call ourselves the bastion of it, but we are not. That's just what we call ourselves. It's not true. So listen, all that you're registered. Make sure that your neighbors and your family members and your friends are registered, and go do these midterm elections. Don't just ignore, oh, I don't know what that is. They send you a ballot in the mail so that you can read about the issues and the candidates in advance. Pay attention to that, read that, talk amongst yourselves about that, and be educated, because an uneducated electorate, or an electorate that's not an electorate because they don't vote, is the felon's dream come true.
Absolutely.
That's what they want. So that's one thing that we can all do, is not give him that. So that's one thing we wanted to talk about.
Exactly. And Cleo in the comments points out, but we blue states are still donor states. We get voted against and still have to pay the way for many. Exactly. And that's because the whole country has been allowed to evolve, and the fantasy that the red states are the independent states has been allowed to take hold. And Gavin Newsom, for all his faults, he's very good at the soundbite about that. We're propping you up, Texas. Hello. Right. And that's what needs to be, made crystal, because most people in red states, they actually don't know that, or they refuse to acknowledge it, or whatever it is, but they don't see the connection between the affluence comparatively of the blue states holding them up. And whereas the conventional Dems are too polite, that's nasty to say we're doing this for you poor people or something. True. They need to lead with a bit of reality.
Yeah.
And let the GOP in all these red states try and disprove that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if we do nothing else, we can be educated and we can vote. And we can, no, you can't vote in Australia. You're from America. You vote right here. Let the Australians do their thing over there. Vote here and encourage other people to do the same. People are funny. Can I come vote in Australia?
Well, just one more thing on our system, which is the absentee vote. Now, if you're overseas, that's an overseas vote. You just send it in by mail. But absentee means I'm on a drive with my friends and I'm halfway through another state. I can drop into any polling station in any state and just say, I'm an absentee voter. So you go in this queue, not that queue, and you get marked off.
Well, the felon, one of the things that he wants is that it's only on election day that you vote. Do you know that would disenfranchise everybody who's overseas, including
the military?
Yeah. So there they are fighting for you, and you're not going to let them vote?
It's breathtaking and beyond.
Because it's so blatant. It's so blatant, I think, that people are blinded by blatancy of it. It's like in plain sight. And so you think, it can't be that bad, but it is that bad.
And it comes back to American exceptionalism again. If we're the bastion of democracy and we're the best country, why would I look at how other people vote?
That's right.
We must be doing it the best.
That's right. And we're not at all.
Fooling the country.
Yep. Speaking of fooling the country, I would like to get to the juiciest bit of our evening. And I don't know, it could take up the whole rest of the time.
Here we go.
But it is this whole Washington correspondence and the
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
The subsequent issues that have arisen as a part of it. So
where do you start?
So interesting. So first we have, before the evening begins, Carolyn Levitt saying to a reporter, there's going to be some shots fired. Now, what she meant was Trump had every intention of getting up there and really abusing the press. I'm going to assume
for an hour. It was scheduled for him to have an hour's speech haranguing.
Right. So I'm going to be nice. She's pregnant. I'm going to be nice and assume that that's what she meant by shots fired. We're going to just go that far. Okay. Now, I have talked about this on my channel, and I've talked about it on Substack, about the fact that, and Lena, when we discussed what we were going to talk about tonight, you said, you know, this could be an entire episode in itself, this idea of Americans being so wedded to the concept of a binary, meaning black and white, red and blue, male and female,
good and bad.
Now, everything is a binary, but everything's not a binary. So let's talk about that. We have, I mean, you guys have all seen the video, right? You have a mentalist, which I get that's supposed to be like somebody that does the kind of work that we do. Like he didn't want to have a comedian, Trump. Yeah. Why Trump gets to decide who the entertainment is for the Washington Correspondents' Dinner is beyond me, but okay, they let him have this mentalist. So like, for example, you think of something and then he writes it down and shows you the thing that you were thinking of. That's basically it. So this guy is standing between Melania and the felon, and they're both seated. And he shows them, he does one of his little tricks. And Melania's like, oh. And Trump is, of course, you know, out to lunch. Yeah. And then the thing happens. Well, the first thing that I thought was fascinating were their faces, the Trump's faces. Melania looked terrified, and Trump looked at her like she was a bug under a microscope.
That smirk.
Yeah. What was that? Now, we know he's a sadist. We know he would throw stuff at, there was a toddler in the yard when he was a little boy, a toddler in the next yard, 3-year-old, trapped in a playpen. So the kid can't do anything. Plus they're a toddler. What are they going to do? And he would throw rocks at the kid's head. That's when they sent him to military school. So we know he's already sick. He looked at her like he was kind of enjoying her.
Yes, terror. It was a most peculiar look.
Very odd look. Okay, then she hits the floor, understandably. Okay, he sits there. And the next weird thing that happens is what? The Secret Service comes, and who do they whisk out? Vance. A good number of seconds elapse, and then they take Trump out. Now, then he says some weird things. They take him out, and it's two guys helping him leave. It's clear as day to me he fell.
Yeah.
He said, no, he didn't fall. They told him to drop. Why would they tell him to drop? Because the thing, but he fell. And he said that the reason it took so long was that he said to the agents, no, I want to make sure, I want to see what's going on.
He's not a well man.
But I mean, it's not only is he not a well man, it is not the kind of response you would have in the moment. If you're in that setting and shots are fired and you know people hate you, why would you want to look around unless you already know something's going to happen? Okay, so there's that. Then we have Erica Kirk, who's all dressed up. I thought she was going to be home with the kids, but all dressed up. And she waits till she's in the camera frame as she's being escorted out. waits till she is just centered in the frame. As people who are on screen a lot, I have to say I quite admire this. She waits till she's centered in the frame, and then she says, I just want to go home. She didn't say it before. She didn't say it after. She made sure she was in the frame. Okay, that was weird. Then, why were they packed in that room like sardines? Isn't there a fire code thing where you can't have but so many people in a space? Because they were packed in wall to wall. People had to climb over stuff to get out because there was zero room with all the tables and all the chairs. Something odd there. The security was incredibly lax. Incredibly lax. You didn't need a key card to get into the elevators, which normally you would.
Paper tickets.
Paper ticket. Somebody showed a Xerox, a copy of a ticket, and got in.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Now, the shooter. First of all, why does he have to be black? But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Very educated.
Hyper-educated.
Brightest
of the bright.
His last job was some technical thing for, I don't know, NASA maybe or something. He did
an internship for NASA.
Okay.
He worked for something.
Okay. So he takes a bus or a train, takes a train with weapons on it. Now, granted, I don't know about Australia, but buses and trains, they're not checking your luggage for anything. They don't care what, they really don't. You can take anything. But anyway, nobody checked anything. He may not have even fired a shot, period.
Exactly. Because I tell you what, and I'm not the only person to say this, had he fired a shot, they would have shot him dead.
Exactly. Exactly. But no, they didn't do that. Then I see a video of him. It was a still. He's wearing a sweatshirt, ADF, which is is that what it's ADF? Is that what I mean to say?
No, they are IDF.
IDF. It was the Israeli Army, like
Defense Force.
Right.
But was it that or ADF?
What's ADF?
Oh, sorry, I misheard.
I know. All I know, it has something to do with Israel. Sure.
Or maybe not. It could have been the Indiana Dolphins or something.
No, it wasn't. It was no. They showed the logo. It was Israel. Okay, now here's the thing.
Okay.
So he could have been a lone crazy guy. I saw when I read on it the night that it happened, I said he's going to leave a manifesto because, don't they all leave a manifesto? But the cards showed that. Sure enough, he did. Anti-felon, okay. Brought up Epstein, and I said that too. I said, I don't know what Epstein has to do with this, but this could be in response to the way these women have been treated. Well, sure enough, that's what he writes in the manifesto. Okay. So it could have been just a lone guy. But like you said, why isn't he dead? There's too many weird things about this. Was it like the guy that killed, what did they say, killed Kirk? In other words, the guy that killed Kirk, he did fire something, but I don't think that was what killed Kirk. He may have shot a gun, but Kirk died because his microphone was like a bomb, and it was activated with a detonator. I've seen that. So could he have been like that, like a Manchurian Candidate type? If you've seen the movie,
yeah, and we won't know for a while what actually happened. Or is he like Luigi Mangione, another bright young man who just sees where all this is going and can't deal and is prepared
And so
to be a martyr.
it's a convergence of events. It just so happened that a guy comes and wants to do this. It just so happens that the security is incredibly lax. It just so happens that the place is packed like sardines. Everything, it just so it's so sloppy. And by the way, it could just be sloppy. It could just be that they are Keystone Cops, running the place.
Well, that's what happens with a major agency or security detail when you get rid of all the long-term dispassionate professionals and replace them, with whoever they choose.
It could be a convergence.
UFC fighters or whatever.
Right. It could be just a convergence of circumstance, or all of that could be part of a false flag psyop.
Sure.
Performance, he's never gone to one of those dinners before. Why is he all of a sudden going this year?
The other thing that's very weird is that the whole immediate cabinet, the line of succession, were all there, and that's never happened at a previous correspondence dinner.
Right. So why was
but
that?
We'll have to see it all play out, because
I think what will happen is we won't see it all play out is the thing.
Oh, well, that's absolutely true. I'm saying it is maybe 5 years from now, we'll find out what we were told about it is wrong. But yes.
Well, I don't know. We're still waiting to hear about Kennedy. Huh?
It's getting to be a pattern.
It is. Yes, that's the thing. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. Now, okay, then we have the ballroom. So he says, this is why we need the ballroom. First of all, why would the correspondence dinner be in the White House? It doesn't, I know it's called the White House Correspondence Dinner, but it's not a White House event. It's not an event sponsored by the White House. Susie Wiles, who, poor thing, is battling cancer, and we wish her well, is getting blamed because she's in charge of the security in the place. Meaning there is a guy who's in charge of Secret Service, but he's had a lot of mishaps and she hasn't fired him and replaced him. So now that she's going to be blamed and her head's going to roll. It's a confluence of events that seems very convenient. Don't you think?
Exactly. Well, yeah, but over the top for attention getting, we'll say, while the world is in flames,
right.
And I've yet to meet or read or see a person anywhere on any spectrum who actually thinks it was a real event, an uncomplicated, straightforward act of violence,
Right.
And I'm here to report the rest of the world doesn't care. And I think that's happening in the States as well. It's like an eye roll country now. It's like, well, what are the things behind the scenes and so forth? But it is eye roll territory. Because the boy who cried wolf.
It's the boy that cried wolf. That's right. Exactly.
So he's bringing all the nursery rhymes to life. I'm thinking of The Emperor's New Clothes, The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Well, the one I'm waiting for to come to life is Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Oh, yes.
Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. That's the one I'm waiting for.
All right.
Did you hear that some genealogist told the felon that they had done research and discovered that he is King Charles's cousin? And he said, well, that's great. And I've always wanted to live in Buckingham Palace. I'll bet he does. Do you want to talk about the speeches? Charles and Harry?
Yes, I do. And I'll flag myself here, full disclosure, as regular viewers of my channel and others know, I'm an anti-monarchist because I'm actually deep in my soul opposed to the idea of people being born to rule. I have a fundamental problem.
Your
with that.
Highness. Think about it.
Yeah,
Sir.
yeah.
Your Highness. Are you kidding?
Right. So I'm not a fan of the monarchies, but Harry, formerly Prince, gave a magnificent speech in Ukraine. It was very poignant because he was on Ukrainian soil and he has a genuine history of supporting disabled veterans.
Right.
He was in Afghanistan himself. So despite my eye rolling over the role of royals, it was a magnificent speech. And Charles' speech, I don't know whether he wrote it himself or he had high-level help, probably both.
Right.
But it was, again, a magnificent. I'm running out of adjectives. Now, some people have said he didn't mention Epstein. Well, he's not going to in that context. He has cut off his biological brother because of this and dethroned him. I mean, you can't do more as a royal, really. Right. So let's not go there for this conversation.
Right.
Which was, it was very cleverly and deliciously, cryptically worded. And I don't think Trump understood a word of it.
No. No,
but the applause, Erica, the applause he got was extraordinary, because I think it was, you know, American Congress people going, oh my God, this is what a statesman sounds like.
You know what we're over here saying? We're over here saying, we know we got rid of George, but we'll take Charles for a minute. Just
get
rid of this one. We'll go back to a monarchy, just so long as, you know, just long enough to clear the stage. Did you see?
He covered so many issues really, really cleverly and targeted. So if you had a working neuron and you were paying attention, it was really obvious what he was saying, but clever, because, you know, the other one would be sitting there picking his nose.
Well, he kind of, let me tell you what the other one did. The other one did like he did Charles's mother and elbowed his way. Remember how he elbowed that guy in Montenegro?
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
Well, he did the same thing, both to Camilla, who I don't have any love lost for Camilla, because I think she did Diana dirty. But anyway, he kind of, and he did the same thing to Charles. He kind of cut him off and got in front of him. And then what did he call him? Well, you'll approve of this. He didn't say His Royal Highness. He called him Charles.
And normally, if an Australian Prime Minister or something had done that, I'd be going, yes.
Right.
But they wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't. I mean, it's
because
just, you know,
these are universal protocols for heads of state that makes it all work. You know, how funny.
Charles, they're family, so why not, you know? I just, well, you know what? Good for the two of them. Good for Harry. Good for Charles. I hope it's a bonding experience that they both each did.
Yeah, I thought that too, because they're quite close together, maybe a week apart or something. And father and son, who are estranged, both gave killer, fabulous speeches.
That's fantastic.
I hope there's something there.
That's good. Okay.
But also in our comments, let us know what you thought of those speeches.
Of those, if you saw them, and they're you know, you can find them anywhere. I wanted to, because, you know, we're an international operation here. I wanted to hear what you have to say about the UAE leaving OPEC.
I really was shocked. You know, there's so much shocking news daily, but when that turned up on my news feed, that the United Arab Emirates have left OPEC after what, 60 years or
long time.
I'm not informed enough to know the actual financial implications, because it's effective immediately.
Right?
So obviously they're trying to get their oil out, presumably through the Red Sea, which has its own issues with Houthi rebels and other things. But what I do see as a complicating factor generally is whether they will not use the US dollar, because the American dollar, which is colloquially, we all talk about the petrodollar, meaning the American dollar in relation to these things, actually hasn't been the only big player for many decades now. So if you just give me a few seconds, the very short version, 30-year embargo on Iran by America has meant that Iran has been trading in Chinese yuan for 30 years for big oil exports. Now the UAE is pulling out of OPEC. They will presumably try and undercut OPEC. That will lead to more tension in the Middle East. So I need to do more research about it. Short term, they could undercut OPEC. Their oil might be cheaper. Everyone goes, yay. But I don't for a minute think it's not going to have long-term major repercussions.
Well, so why do you think the consensus of opinion here seems to be that OPEC's leaving, UAE leaving OPEC is good for the felon?
Just short term, there'll be more oil coming from somewhere else.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Like short term, you can see it, and when I say long term, could be like a month from now. It doesn't have to be long term. There are inevitably, because they are so powerful, inevitably, where are they aligning on the other side? Yes, they might give cheaper oil and gas to the US, but also China and Russia.
Right.
So if they form a triumvirate,
that's a
real game changer.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that. So another thing I wanted to have us talk about is Bondi. So Bondi is nowhere to be found. She is a private citizen, so that's fine. We know that the Epstein committee has been trying to, they tried, and she refused the subpoena to get her to testify. And she was going to be officially held in contempt. And just in the nick of time, Chairman Comer, Republican chairman of the committee, said, she's going to testify a closed-door session on May 29th. So that's something to keep our eye on about. Obviously it's closed door, so we can't watch it live, but she's going to be held to account for how she had handled this situation. I don't know. I think that, forget Bondi. But staying with Epstein, two shocking bits of information. The first is that Ghislaine, both deal with Ghislaine. Ghislaine Maxwell has twin sisters, older twin sisters, who are very big in the field of like spy technology. Did you know that?
Yes, I've heard whispers over the years. Yeah,
but that's really interesting. It's a family affair.
It's a family affair. The father was bent as a fishhook. That's
right. So, it just makes the case that this whole Epstein thing is not just a perverted guy who trafficked women. It's so much more involved than that. There's just so much more to it. The other thing is that there is a growing number of Republican congressmen lobbying for this woman to get out of jail in return for her testimony. Now, she's already said that the felon is as pure as the driven snow. Never anything but a gentleman, never saw him do anything untoward. So what's she going to say? Well, what she's going to say is she'll name names of every Democrat that she can think of. But on the basis of that, she'll be let out of jail?
Yeah, for sure. It's an inch away. They're angling towards it. And I'm going to say it's our fault. I'm
Okay.
just teasing. Why I'm saying that is
All right.
because every time we said Epstein, we should have said Epstein and Maxwell.
Epstein and Maxwell. Well,
Right?
I
You
mean,
think how many millions of times his name has been written and uttered. If it had been Epstein and Maxwell did this, Epstein and Maxwell did that, we wouldn't be sitting here looking at her swanning out the gate.
but I'll tell you what, if she swans out the gate, that is evidence right there that this is much deeper, wider than we even realized. I mean,
Yes, absolutely. And see, he made money both conventionally, illegally, and extortionately.
mhm,
He had this acquired, it came from obscurity, relative obscurity to massive wealth. But she was the one with the cachet.
right,
She was the triple A lister.
right.
So she grew up with the most powerful heads of state. Plus, and Robert Maxwell was the Murdoch of his time, only a fully fledged spy as well, and all of that.
No,
Sorry, what were we saying before?
I'm going to just say,
much wider.
well, yes, I was going to say that I think, believe it or not, Epstein and Maxwell, will stick them together, hyphenate the names, are just the tip of the spear.
Well, indeed. And as I've been harping on for the last 2 years, if not more, we haven't heard this much about the males.
That's right.
I've been saying, where are the boys? And then we had that one Riley, remember, he emerged about 6 months ago, saying, other than that, nothing. That's, I think, going to be one of the things that resurrects the whole issue of what went on at Zorro Ranch.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Zorro Ranch, I was optimistic for a hot minute because there were two female legislators who seemed to just sort of take the bull by the horns and say, we're going to allocate resources to explore this ranch. But then when I saw the amount of money they were talking about allocating, it was peanuts. And then when I saw what the actual resources were, and that they did not include radar and LIDAR and all of those, ground penetrating things, but it was a bunch of dogs with cute names, cadaver dogs. Like, that's so, last.
And I gave up early on excuse me, when I found out it was some bizarre Christian cult-like thing who'd bought Zorro Ranch and things, and then they said it's all right to search. I went, no, this isn't smelling right.
It's not. Well, he said that they're going to the new owner, they're going to turn it into a Christian retreat center. They have
I just went, no, this is too bad.
And come to find out, the legislators themselves, the ones that I thought good for them for championing this cause, have connections to the whole what are they all involved in? The whole I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. They are involved in in other words, it's not just the sex, and it's not just the children, and it's not just cannibalism. In other words, so it was about getting compromise on all kinds of people for a bigger cause. I mean, you don't just get compromise to get compromise.
No, you have to have an aim. Yes.
There's an aim. And I think that this aim involves a lot of things. I think it involves the twin sisters of Ghislaine. I think it involves Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA.
It's about compromising leaders of whether it's a movement like Turning Point USA or it's an entire country somewhere else.
Right.
If you control the players, you control things. And obviously they had the whole world in mind.
Yeah.
So it is very, very, it's vast beyond.
It's beyond our comprehension how vast
It
it is.
really actually is how wide it goes. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just something to keep an eye on because, you know. All right, what did we not mention?
Jimmy Kimmel.
Listen, anybody who needs a passport, if you're from the US, I hope you already got it because
Yes,
the felon has now decided he's putting his name, that big magic marker, and his picture on everybody's passport. And what picture might that be? His mugshot picture where he's just glowering, looking whatever he thought he was looking like. That's going to be on all new passports. And I have a new grandson, and my daughter texted me this morning. She goes, "Mom, I am so glad we got his passport before because otherwise he would have been passportless for the foreseeable future, because I wouldn't want my baby's passport sullied by
tainted." And when he's gone one way or another, is there going to be public redemption for things like that? You can actually choose to surrender your passport and have it replaced by a normal passport.
I'll tell you something. I suspect yes. I think his name will be taken down from buildings. I think statues will be toppled, and I think you'll be able to turn your passport in for a normal one. Yes. I think so. Yeah.
I sure hope so. And the old saying, anything he touches dies. The Kennedy Center, which he took over and stuff, has gone into bankruptcy. And the reason it's gone into bankruptcy is everyone refuses to perform there.
That's right.
And so he's literally killed the Trump Kennedy Center. So again, it's a very big job on the other side of this to resurrect these cultural landmarks.
You know what?
Along with restoring images of Black soldiers and heroes and all that stuff that was clawed off websites.
It would be the same. You've seen those documentaries of Europe after the war, how it was in ruins and rubble. It's like that. Everything will have to be taken apart and rebuilt.
Absolutely everything.
And hopefully not forgetting why we have to do this in the first place. Hopefully we will, as we're shoveling wheelbarrows of rubble out of the way to make way for the new, we will remember and learn from this time. Because listen, he's a bad guy, but he didn't do this by himself. He did not.
No, and we've all got to remind each other of this.
Yeah.
Particularly second time round, the guardrails fell off, and I think people are now unblinkered about how fragile the system is. Like those of us in any democracy anywhere in the world are going, oh my God, we've got to be really, really careful.
Right.
And it is the dismantling, literally, of all those things.
Yeah. I mean, even the dismantling of the Voting Rights Act, there are some people who just need a lesson to be so painful and difficult in order to be able to get it.
Exactly. So those of us who can see a bigger picture, which I include all of our long-term viewers here, who really think and care, it's really important to support each other, because it's like so many couldn't see that. It was screamingly obvious to all of us, and I'm including our viewers in that, where this was going, and it was not good right from day one. But yeah, people have to feel it, unfortunately.
So speaking of feel it, so remember last week I was bemoaning the fact that, May 1st, it was like a balloon that just kind of, the air went out of it. Well, apparently
taking off now.
It's being reinflated. I mean, nothing like 2 days beforehand, but okay, better late than never.
Yeah. Look at
Lena, what
It's a
you
book.
said last week was so helpful. It was really helpful to me, so I'm sure it was helpful to the viewers, which was I was just so annoyed. I was just like,
Yeah.
and you said there's nothing precluding your participation in this. You're in solidarity with the world's workers. If nobody else is doing it, you're doing it, and that counts for something. So it's back on you all. And all it means is nobody's asking you to do anything. We're just asking you to do nothing.
Yeah.
No shopping, no school, no work. It will not kill your kids' average. I'm a teacher. I know. They could take a day off, call it a sick day, whatever you want to call it.
And have a little chat with the children on the day off.
That's right. That's right. If there are community events, and there will be apparently in a lot of communities, if you're in the mood to attend those,
awesome.
But it's more the point that this is an economic blackout. So no DoorDash, no Grubhub, no Amazon, nothing. Whatever you're going to buy, whatever food you need to get it. Stay home and read a book.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
It's very important, and you are in solidarity with people all over the world who for decades have observed Workers' Day on May 1st. So I'm very excited that it's back on. I don't know what the delay was.
I'm getting goosebumps, just talking about it. It's sort of geeing me up in a good way.
I'm very excited. So I hope you all are too. And again, it's not requiring anything of you except stay home.
Yeah.
Stay home. If you get
in a conscious state of why.
Some people will say, they'll come on here and they'll say, I can't stay home because I used up all my sick leave. I can't stay home because I'll get docked. I can't stay home because I'll get fired. I can't stay home. Well, you know what? You make a list of what you can't do and the reason that you can't do it, and I don't know, tack it up on the wall for wallpaper. The sacrifice is called for. And we can all think of reasons why we want to order out instead of cooking, or why we need that thing from Amazon on the first. We have to have it.
Exactly. But I also think it's a good opportunity to observe our consumer behavior.
I agree.
All of us consume and acquire so much more than we need.
Sure.
And so use it as a day of reflection in that way. That you might have to have cereal for dinner because you forgot until the last minute. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
That's what it means.
That's right. So I'm very excited that it's back on. I hope you all are too. And I look forward to hearing from people how they spent the day. Because
please, people, think about what you're going to do and let us know. I'd love feedback on that.
I mean, if you feel some type of way, if you feel some type of way, for example, about this destruction of the Voting Rights Act, participate in May 1st, because it's like a protest vote. Your absence will speak volumes. And it's the only, because we worship money. This is the only thing that these companies care about.
And there's no need to go overboard. It's like with certain things where people sort of, bulk buy and scare buy. You don't have to buy 150 toilet rolls. You don't have to fill up your car the day before if it's not, lower than half or whatever. Really think about what you need to do. And I suspect it's going to be a bit hard. I expect myself to get caught out because it sounds easy, the do nothing thing, but it's surprisingly hard. I'll just go and
right. But it will, like you say, at least it'll make us aware and conscious of what we're doing, because so much of
it actually performs a number of functions.
That's right. Absolutely. So we will be back next week where you can debrief us, you all, on how that went for you and what you discovered about yourselves. And we will do the same, because you're going to observe it. I'm going to observe it. And it's being observed all over the world. So I think it's really exciting. So Lena, that's it. Another week.
So great to be here. Thanks, Erica.
Yes. Thank you all, everybody, for being with us. And thank you to those of you who are watching in replay. This will be available in a replay, both on Lena's channel, Lena Down Under, and also on my channel. So let people know if you think this is something that they'd appreciate. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.
Take care.